Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back in the video day, and today the Houston Texans have released CJ Gardner-Johnson. I was pretty shocked about this, but when you learn about some of the things that were going on, it's not that surprising. I think this is a version of a defensive version, maybe a more talented player version of what happened with Deontay Johnson and Deontay Johnson's behavior last year. We saw Deontay Johnson with some of the behaviors he had. He got cut because the Texans just didn't tolerate that behavior. We're seeing this again with CJ Gardner-Johnson. He was unhappy about some of the playing time. He wasn't getting, wanted more playing time. He was not being the best teammate. He was being a cancer in the locker room, and he was also complaining about other players' contracts, which is something it's too much. Look, I think complaining about playing, not getting enough playing time, that's one thing. But you start complaining about other players' contracts, that's not what's important. Winning football games is important. When you're 0-3 and you've got a guy complaining about other players' contracts, I know there are people that are debating on who that player, CJ Gardner-Johnson, was complaining about. Was it Jalen Petrie or was it Derek Stingley Jr.? Who was Gardner-Johnson complaining about? To me, that doesn't really matter because that's not something that matters. I lost a lot of respect in Gardner-Johnson for learning that information because this team's 0-3 right now, or at any point, whether they're when they were 0-2 or when they were 0-3, and he's concerned about someone else's contract compared to going back out there and winning football games. That's not someone you want out there. Look, say what you want about this team so far and their struggles. It's been bad. But I think defensively, that's where this team right now has things figured out the most. Look, the defense hasn't been perfect, but that's where I think this team has their crap figured out the most. And I don't think the defense can afford to get worse. And when you have a player, even if it is a good player, who is causing problems in the locker room and causing problems with the front office, that's just going to make things worse for the defense. And I don't think the Texans can afford that. They have a good secondary. Jimmy Ward is coming back. I really don't like Jimmy Ward as a person after what I've figured out, some of the things he's gotten in trouble for. But Jimmy Ward is a hell of a football player. He hits hard. I think that's going to be great for the Texans to get him back because the Texans have had a little bit of a problem of getting players down. Getting opponents down, and I think there have been some tackling issues. I think that in the Tampa game we saw some bad tackling, and I think that has been one of the bad things so far with this defense. And Jimmy Ward's a guy that hits hard, so it's gonna be good to have him back. You've got Jimmy Ward, you've got Stingley, you've got Petrie, you have both Kalen Bullock and Kamari Lassiter. Even after cutting C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a great player, it's not like this defense is weak. This is still the secondary is weak. This is still a good secondary. Gardner-Johnson, through 3 games with the Texans, had 15 tackles and 1 QB hit. He's definitely solid. He wasn't. I think he was probably one of the worst guys of the 5 main guys that were in the Texans secondary. I thought he was probably in the middle. He had given up almost 100 receiving yards on 6 receptions through 3 games, and the only 2 guys that had worse stats than him defensively are Kalen Bullock and Kamari Lassiter. Of allowing stats and allowing numbers and So, but those 2 guys have been on the field a lot more than Gardner-Johnson. You guys, let me know your thoughts on the Texans cutting C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the comment section, and peace out.